Good day to you. If you haven't seen me before, then that's perfectly understandable, given that this is my first appearance in 3 dimensions rather than 2. Also my first appearance being animated rather than just a wee small picture in the bottom right hand side of the screen. This is also my first video. As you can see, I've got myself a shiny new overlay that I made earlier today. And as you can tell by what's currently on screen, I'm in the mood to cover a bit of information about Darktide. Namely, the changes that have come with the massive patch 13. And I specifically want to go over the changes from the different archetypes into having skill trees. I'm going to start off with Zealot because it's my favorite class. In part because I sent for the Sisters of Battle, and also because it's the only class that lets me use a big fucking chainsword. Getting the highlights. We've got 3 options for our blitz abilities. The leftmost option is your stun thrown grenade. This is pretty much the same as what you started with, but now it's got a 50% increased blast radius. Mind you, that's blast radius, not blast diameter. Meaning that it's actually got a much larger radius, and you can walk down a fair number of the rooms, in all honesty. Unless they're one of the very large areas, you can walk down just about entire rooms with this thing. It's good for the same reasons that it was before, in that if you stun a crowd, you can either pick someone up, get a clutch save off, complete an objective, or just use it to shut down a line of shooters and get right up in their business. The center option is the Holy Immolation Grenade of Dantiok. If you've ever looked at the Scat Bombers and thought, I wish that were me, well, congratulations. Your dreams of conflagration and yelling, it's blasting time have come true. It leaves a pretty sizable portal of flame on the ground, and it will pretty effectively note light infantry. If you need more holy promethium in your life, this one is probably for you. I personally find myself using it though these out in the options, just because either I'd rather have the stun for, walk down a rune and then make plays off of that, or the last option, which is the throwing knife. Just living in Ireland, when I happen to go across the water to visit England, this feels familiar to me. Jokes aside, with this, you get to have 12 knives. You can throw at will. They can crit, they can do weak spot damage, and they've got a very high weak spot damage multiplier. Unlike other blitz options, rather than swapping to your grenade or whatever it may be, and then using it, with this, once you press the button, it immediately whips one out. Also of note, ammo boxes replenish 2 knives. Killing elites and special enemies in melee replenish 1 knife, and ammo bags replenish multiple knives. They're not very good against carapace, but against pretty much anything else, they're very good. And if you, get very consistent with landing your weak spot hits with them, they can prove to be very effective. For auras, you've got another set of strong choices that, depending on your playstyle, that'll depend on which one you want to go for. The leftmost one is Benediction, which is the one that we had before the rework. It gives 15% toughness damage reduction to all allies, including yourself. In coherency, it's very simple, it's very strong. Just toughness damage reduction, very effective. The central one, Beacon of Purity, seems a fair bit more like a sleeper or situational pick to me. Every 1 second, you remove 1.5 corruption damage from yourself and all allies in coherency from the current wound. This won't let you recover wounds, but it'll let you offset corruption from taking corruption from grimoires. It'll let you offset Daemon host corruption, corruption from the splooge from the Beast of Nurgle, pulse bursts as long as it doesn't take them over a wound, chip damage from pulse walkers, that sort of thing. I'd imagine chip damage from helms or from a trapper net as well, technically. It's a supportive option. It's not my favorite, but it's certainly got its applications, and if you've got a multi-zealot team in your cremate, then it would certainly be worth it to have one person taking this. Or if you want to cosplay as, you know, a zealot preacher who's a Imperium Guard preacher, then this would be a good option for you. Finally, the rightmost one, which is for those of us that have what I like to call zealot drain. Your intention is to run forward and run fast and get stuck in, even if that's a few hundred meters from the rest of your team. Lunar lets you always count as being in at least 2 coherency, even when you're far away from your teammates. This has several different uses. One, it means that if you're in coherency with at least one member of your team, you actually count as being in 3 coherency, which is very nice for your toughness regeneration. On the other hand, if you're playing with your team and stand in coherency, you don't benefit from it. And your teammates don't benefit from you having either Beacon of Purity or Benediction. So, if you plan on doing a lot of running around your team or running off on your own, which you shouldn't, then you'd probably want to go for this option. I find myself running it a lot because it gives me access to the Irathby Swift and Grievous Wounds. My suggestion, if you're going to take this, don't take this as a feel free to rush ahead and run off on your own, or treat it as a you can run around your team aura. Don't just run off away from the team. Stick close to them, but you can be a bit farther away and, you know, go check for resources, that kind of thing. Now for the abilities. The leftmost option is Fear of the Faithful, which is the modification to the ability that we had before that gave us attack speed. Very much like Chastise the Wicked, it has forward, finish half your toughness, gain 20% attack speed for 10 seconds, and your next melee attack gets 25% damage, and is again P critical hit. It's very nice. It's very much the same as it was before, but now you gain attack speed as well with the basic ability. And, you know, it's good. You can gap close, you get iframes due on your charge. You can go up to 20 meters as long as you're targeting an enemy. And you have easy access to not just the ability that lets you, you know, have 2 charges of it, which you can now have in addition to the attack speed. And farther down the far left side, you get access to Invocation of Death again, which lets you reduce the cooldown. So you can have 2 charges and reduce the cooldown every time you land a crit, which is very, very, very good. The central option is Course of Spiritual Fortitude. In the world of 40k, you can't pray the gay away. Because in the world of 40k, being gay is perfectly fine. Being a demon, on the other hand, that's not very fun. When you use the ability Course of Spiritual Fortitude, you hold aloft a holy relic that pulses out energy. While you're channeling it, allies in coherency, not yourself, mind you, have stun immunity and invulnerability. Each pulse replenishes toughness, and if they're already at full toughness, they gain over toughness. It's an overshield, essentially, but it lets you go over your max toughness. The main thing with this one, though, is Banishing Light. This lets each pulse also stagger and suppress enemies, and the range increases with every pulse. Importantly, I have seen this stagger everything except for Beasts of Nurgle, and I believe mutants that are mid-charge. I don't think I've seen anything else not get staggered by it. You can also use it to lich them if they're very conveniently located. In short, if you want to be a support, or pretend to be an exorcist, Take this. Oh, Daimonoth, pray at it. Plagoran, pray at it. Buffwalker just left your veteran's arse for the third time. They didn't check behind him or hear the backstab. Audio cue, pray at it. There's also the possibility that it can get bold, and you'll just channel it forever. Constantly staggering and suppressing enemies, including demon hosts, plague ogrins, chaos spawns, and giving your teammates invulnerability to stuns and just damage. Refilling toughness for everyone. This is very strong, and the bow makes it very, very strong. Don't battle on that thing in the game for too long. However, it is also Fat Shark, and we'll hear from them again next year. Your rightmost option is Drawfield. That's for those of us who want to play a sneaky assassin. When you use it, you cool for 3 seconds, gain move speed, double your backstab damage, and double your finesse damage, meaning crits and weak spot hits. And you get 100% crit chance for the full 3 seconds. This is very good on just about any weapon, in all honesty. Importantly, none of these specifically say for your melee. So these apply to ranged weapons as well. If you want to just slip up behind someone, put a revolver to their head and shoot them, it works pretty well. The augments for it are what really make it viable. Mastercrafted Shroudfield lets you increase the stealth duration to 6 seconds. This gives you plenty of time to make plays, reposition, etc. And then Invigorating Revelation gives you toughness regeneration once you come out of stealth. And some, not toughness damage reduction, mind you, 20% total damage reduction. So even if they somehow eat through the toughness that you just regenerated, you'll take reduced down to your health as well, which is very strong. It's got a 30-second cooldown, which is reasonable. Course has 60 seconds. Fear of the Faithful has 30 seconds. It's quite good. I don't find myself using it as much as I do Fury of the Faithful, just because I prefer running straight at them. But this gives you a lot more options and can give you some more potentials to make plays. The other augment for it is Perfectionist, which grants an additional 50% finesse damage, another 100% backstab damage, but doubles its cooldown, bringing it up to 60 seconds. Having 3 seconds of stealth every 60 seconds, it will give you a massive damage buff. Is not bad, but personally I'd rather go for the 6-second duration over the stronger damage pulse. If you're having trouble hitting breakpoints to kill things, you probably want to adjust your loadout rather than rely on this to give you the extra damage. As for the keystones, the leftmost option is Blazing Piety. After 25 enemies die within 25 meters of you, within the span of 8 seconds, you gain 15% crit chance. This can be refreshed. That 8 seconds isn't a, oh, you pop it and then that's it, you have to kill another 25. No, it's, you kill 25 enemies within 8 seconds, and then once that procs, as long as you keep killing enemies, it will refresh. If you then add Fury Rising, your critical hits also help build it up. And if you then take Righteous Warrior, you gain another 10% crit chance. So for killing enemies, you get 25% crit chance, and as long as you keep hitting things with critical hits, you can sustain it. having a free 25% crit chance for every engagement is ridiculously strong. The left side of the tree means that when you proc it initially, you get half your toughness back, and you can share 5% crit chance to your allies that are incoherent. Personally, I wouldn't recommend running these unless you're bound and determined to go support, but I'd say just stick to the right side of the tree here. It is just ridiculously strong. The central option is Martyrdom. This is slightly changed from the way it was before. It used to be based off of percent missing health. Now it is per missing wound up to 9. 9 being the most you can have if you take Faith Fortitude, 3 Curio wounds, and play on a lower difficulty. At 9, it would grant you 72%. However, if you're playing on Damnation, where you'll have 2 wounds by default, you can get 2 Lord here, and have 3 wounds from your Cheerios. So that'll get you up to 7 wounds, which will give you a 56% damage buff. Mind you, that's if you're on your last wound, which is a substantial amount of wounds. But I have the same issue with it that I did before. That requires you to build woos rather than other defensive stats like health or toughness or stamina. It also requires you to then lose wounds in order to get that damage buff. It is at least not, you have to go down or be corrupted through those wounds. You can just be doubted you've taken. But you still have to have low health. And even with, let's say, the toughness damage reduction that you get there, which can go up to 45% if you're playing on lower difficulties, or more realistically, 35% toughness damage reduction. And the probably 24% attack speed if you're on your last wound in Damnation. Those are some really strong buffs, but the requirements to make it work and even have it active dissuade me from using it personally. It's kind of one of those things of, if you run it and find yourself in a situation where you get a benefit from it, there's probably nothing you'd rather have. However, in an ideal situation, you won't be taking much damage to begin with. Because you'll be, using cover, avoiding getting just smacked in melee, not charging straight into the line of gunners unless you're using iframes or dodging, sliding, etc. So, if you want to make use of it, you can, but I wouldn't recommend it personally. The rightmost option, Inexorable Judgment, so I can select it, is a very interesting one. When moving, you build up to 20 stacks of momentum, and upon hitting an enemy, you gain rage and melee attack speed and damage for 8 seconds, based off of how many stacks you've spent. About the feel, and this is for the Thunderhammer enjoys out there mostly, and want to pop a demon host in, 2 or 3 hits. Or the people who really want to play as a slippery, sneaky assassin. Its modifiers let you gain bonus momentum on a successful dodge, and you can replenish toughness for each stack of momentum that you expend. As far as what grants you stacks, walking, sprinting, dodging, sliding, jumping, all that grants you momentum. Especially with the Inebriate's Poise, I'd say that after your first enter combat, you can probably average out to, 6 to 12 stacks of momentum that you sustain through a fight is what, replace your highest with a low one. It's once that one expires, it will proc again. So, I can see it being useful. Personally, I find it hard to recommend it over Blazing Piety. But it's also perfectly valid, and if you're on this side of the tree anyways, then you don't have the points to get over to, Blazing Piety, Fury Rising, and Righteous Warrior. is certainly worth taking. That mostly sums up the major class-defining traits. Throughout the skill tree, there are more refreshed and new abilities, like we've got Until Death and Holy Revenant, that, much as before, when you go down, you instead become invulnerable for 5 seconds, once every 2 minutes. Holy Revenant no longer has an uncapped amount of health you can recover. You can now recover a maximum of your 25% health. If you're stuck in health, then that can be, real close to 100 health still. Because with my current build, I'm cruising around the 370 health. So that'd get me back up to 75% health if I ran it. We of course also have Scourge, which is your crits cause bleed. Hitting bleeding enemies cause crits. Also just very nice. I mentioned it already, but Thy Wrath Be Swift is still a phenomenal trait. Sustained Assault. Hitting things in melee gives you melee damage. Up to 20%. Still very useful. A new one that I quite like is with Certainty, which gives you 10% sprint speed. And even when you're out of stamina, you always count as dodging while sprinting, which is just very, very convenient. You've got a lot of feckin' options. And I highly recommend playing around with it and figuring out what sort of build you like the most. And, given that we have loadouts, make your own. Try some different things. If you want to be a preacher who inspires your allies with the power of faith and fury, you can go for, of course, the Spiritual Fortitude build. If you want to be a knife-wielding lunatic, dipping in and out of the shadows, you can run Shroudfield. If you want to take a Thunderhammer and charge your eye at that mutant that's charging at you and just knock it right into the work, take Fear of the Faithful and a well-built Thunderhammer. You can do whatever the feck you want, and as long as you're having fun and not actively sabotaging your team, I say go for it. So, I hope that you enjoy this. I hope you found it informative. And I intend to make some more videos. One for the veteran, one for the psyker, and then one for the ogre, with I finish leveling the ogre up. But that will be it for now. I hope you all have a lovely day. And thank you very much for watching.